Good morning. It was a day like today, cold, winter and damp. We left the house and we made our way up the winding garden path. I was dressed, as always, in a yellow oilskin coat, Wellington boots and a sou'wester hat. My younger brother would have been in a pram. My elder brother would have been at primary school. We were off to make our everyday trip down to the free shops in the village. My dyslexic brain of today has taken from me a lot of memories as I grew older, but certain things have always stuck for some reason in my head. One of those things is the feeling of walking out of the door and the patter of rain on my sou'wester hat, similar to the raindrops on the old tarpaulin which covers Dad's woodshed in the corner of our garden. Well, in those days there was no fridges and there was no freezers. We were very lucky to have a television, black and white of course, and I do remember a very old radio sitting on the windowsill facing forward into the garden. We had only 1 or 2 plug sockets in the entire house. There was no central heating, didn't exist, and only 1 open fire to heat the entire house. Well, Mum brought food each and every day for what we ate. That's why the morning trip to the free shops in the village was very important. I remember as a small child I never wanted to go, but I also remember at some point I would be rewarded with a small treat if I didn't play Mum up. Well, another memory that sticks in my head and in my heart would have been on the way to the shops. We would pass close by the primary school that my brother would have been in, and we could generally hear the assembly in progress. From my recollection, most of the time it would have been all things bright and beautiful where Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. So who am I and where am I? Most of you will know, of course, who I am. My name is Harry. I was born in the very house I was brought up in. Where are we? Well, Tamerton Folliot, of course. I had 2 brothers, 1 younger, 1 elder. Dad was another Harry and Mother was called Ada. The family name, of course, is Chanter. In 1964, my birth year, there would have been many Chanters in Tamerton Folliot, not so many now. The families had gone their separate ways, maybe moved on with the conurbation of the village, avoiding what's left of the Tamerton Folliot green belt. We had, as everyone did in those bygone days, little money, few possessions, but what we did have in abundance was the love of a fantastic family bond which stretched out far and beyond Mum, Dad and my 2 brothers. Oh, I had so many aunties and uncles, most of them living in Tamerton Folliot, a lot in Whitson Cross Lane and Harwood Avenue. Our house was number 2, Can Cottages, up by the church, and it was an open door every day. People would just walk in, but it was the way of the world in those days. I do remember my dear old Aunt Wynne and my dear old Aunt Alice. Aunt Alice got me into cooking, which is why I became a chef, of course. Well, they would both come to the house, and the first thing they would do immediately is turn off the television and tell us kids, go on outside and play. We don't want to be sat in here watching this rubbish all day long. Even if it were our most favourite programme. I remember Black Beauty, the Lightning Tree, Rhubarb and Custard, to name 3. But my favourite programme when I was very, very small was called Why Don't You? Why don't you just switch off your television set and go and do something less boring instead? Well, we did have quite a strict upbringing, but heavens, did we have the best playground in the world. Not only did we have an acre of land which housed an old thatched water well, but we had the run of the farmers' fields in and around the area. We lived, but don't be thinking, an acre of land, how rich were these people? The land belonged to the Tuckett family, who owned most of the properties in Tamerton Folliot. Well, the house we actually lived in was a tied cottage, meaning it was tied to my father's job as a gardener. And he worked primarily at the Tuckett's house on the edge of the moor, a beautiful country house by Denham Bridge. The house was called Ludbrook. But that didn't stop Dad, as he used to call it, paring the hedges in and around Tamerton Folliot, which he did regularly and at no cost to anyone. It was the pride of being resident in Tamerton Folliot. Going back to the Tucketts, I'm told a story, true or false. They used to live in Can House, which was the Cheshire home. Privately, it was their house, back in the day. And I was told the house I was born in and lived in for the first 20 years of my life was going to be built on what is now the slopes of the old Tamerton Vale Primary School, now a new housing estate in itself. But the Tucketts knew it was being built for staff, and in those days the staff did not look down on the gentry. Well, we were a very average family. Going back to 1964, my birth year. Mum and Dad both had their little thing they liked to do. Mother was bingo, of course. She was very big bingo fanatic, and she went at least a couple of times a week. And Tamerton Folliot Church Hall on Thursday evening was the venue for Len Pilgrim's Cash Bingo. I went to the cash bingo with Mother on occasion, and I'd have been about 8, 9, and I was tasked with the job of turning the wheel. Now, can you imagine an 8-year-old doing that now? Well, Dad always had a couple of evenings in the pub, and it was always the 7 Stars. Neither of the other two. The 7 Stars was Father's little haunt, and he would take our dog, Lady, down with him to the pub, and he would buy a bottle of Mackesons, put the bottle of Mackesons in the dog's mouth, and the dog used to take the bottle of Mackesons up to Mother, which she very much enjoyed while Father was in the pub. A little extra income came at our house from selling vegetables. Mother had a table up the road with vegetables grown in the garden or the allotment where Star Garage is now. People would come to the door, which was always open, and they would pay Mum for whatever they wanted, and on occasion Mum would have to go up to the allotments and pick or dig some more. So these are just a few of my memories I thought I'd jot down and make a wee video of my life growing up in Tamerton Folliot. Could it be a bestseller? No, but for me it's quite nice. It was quite nice writing it, and I've enjoyed the process of putting it together and making a video. So thank you very much, everybody. Wherever you are, Tamerton Folliot or anywhere else. Incidentally, I now live in Saltash with my wife. Anyway, thank you very much everybody, and bye bye for now. Bye bye.